Greg, let me know when you're ready.
I showed you that free option.
You would think there'd be a way to remove him, right?
Not and still have him record.
Okay.
So there's drawback number one.
Not if we were not doing the video through Discord where he has to change it every time somebody joins.
Yeah, we just have to do it a different way.
The stream looks nice, but boy, it's a lot of work.
Right,
Most
count me in when
podcasts,
you're ready.
yeah, most podcasts like ours, that's what they do. They just show the whole window, right? So even if you stick with Discord, just show the whole damn window. Just leave us like this. Yeah. And you just need the stream to be bigger. So you kind of put us up in the top. I mean, the menu, the script, I'm sorry. But we're ready to go live, I guess, once you're ready.
Yeah, count me in. Everybody here is getting ready to go to somebody called Morgan Wallen. Some
Hey,
kind of country guy.
Can you do a quick refresh on your screen, on your script?
Yep.
Roger, refresh.
You're listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast, where we discuss everything iRacing in a casual setting. Enjoy.
Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I am your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer, where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, David Hall.
Yeah.
Hey, happy summer, Greg Hectus. It's 116 here.
Hey, everybody, how's it going?
And Donnie Spiker.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Coming up on the show today, we'll see what plans a Formula One has in the world of sim racing. We'll look at a little-known history of karting and iRacing, and what are the worst pit roads in the sim. And in hardware, we will check out a PC build that will have you running to find one for yourself.
That's right, and you can follow along with this on your PC or mobile device in real time as you listen to the show, and see all these great topics we'll discuss by going to iRacersLounge.com and selecting the show notes. So log on, and we'll see you then.
All right, so you jumped right on it. Max Verstappen is planning on, I guess, a sim racing career afterwards. And he's quoted as saying, some people think it's a game, but it's not. And that's pretty well, because we'll fuss at somebody when they call it a game. Absolutely.
Now, this has got to be the most ironic video or timing of a release of a video ever, because this came out, it was on some kind of international CNN World News television program. And then, a couple days later, apparently Max was racing on iRacing with his friends over there at Redline, and they were in some kind of event, forget the name of it, but he got kind of run off the track. It was kind of accidental, it looked like, but he didn't like it. And so he went after the guy and wrecked him, like totally intentionally went after him, like he was cutting the course to get to him. And it was like reminiscent of the whole Scott Speed thing.
Yeah, I watched it a little bit, and I don't know. It's not good to see. I don't like it. He doesn't need to be doing it to begin with, but it's actually pretty shameful. He's probably our most, not our most, but he's one of the highest profile guys on iRacing, and for him to be doing this kind of could we could lose some credibility to a degree.
Well, especially when you have a news interview 3 days earlier and you say how, oh, after my career's over, no, I'm not going to have anything to do with Formula One. Of course not. I'm going to be all in on sim racing.
Do you think he gets suspended?
I think he did. I don't think it's advertised, obviously. Or he got the warning. He got that email. Hey,
Didn't they announce?
Watch it.
They announced it when Speed got his suspension, didn't they? Or did he just come out and say
They did.
Yeah.
No, I think it was public.
So it wasn't an official race, but you can be protested and suspended in a hosted race, I believe, right?
Unless the description says rule suspended. Because, like, we've done races in a league that the goal was basically to wreck each other. Everybody had a bunny that they were chasing on a team, and then you had 3 foxes or whatever.
Now, I'm going to digress just a hair because it brought up a different issue that if you talk about it, are you shaming the driver, which is against the sporting code? You can't call somebody out for and so what happened is if you look in the link in the show notes, we have a forum post link, and that was discussing this video incident, and like the second or third response was, hey, by you writing this post, aren't you subject to be protested because of it? What do you guys think? And in fact, the forum post has been taken down.
I don't know. The public shaming thing's weird. I mean, if you're suspended, who cares? Who knows if you're suspended? That's my belief. It is what it is. But how did they handle the Kyle Larson thing? Didn't iRacing come out with a statement as well for that one?
They did. Yeah.
So I'm assuming with the high profile ones, they may, but I don't know.
Well, Larson's wasn't really an on-track incident, really. I guess it kind of was because he was in iRacing when it happened.
Yeah, an in-sim incident.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't really think they should necessarily, no matter who the person is, they should be announcing. If they're not going to announce it for just random people, they shouldn't announce it for famous people either. It should be one consistent rule for everybody.
How would you like to actually have, though, a wall of shame?
Maybe an extra tab on the website, a database.
Yeah. You can see my whole list of chat bans.
Well, I want to get back real quick to the actual interview first, because he does make some really interesting statements. I mean, he says flat out in the interview, it's not think it's a game, but it's not. So he obviously thinks it's more than kind of dismiss this hobby and this as a legitimate competition or sport, if you want. So I thought it was really good for him to put that out there. It gives it a lot more credibility among people who listened to that interview or weren't really sure about sim racing and its legitimacy, I guess.
Yeah, I think Max is 25 years old, and that's kind of what I was thinking when this kind of happened. I'm like, even he's a champion and he's all this other stuff, he's still a young kid, and sometimes people make mistakes, and we all have, and and some of us have been protested before, and so Max probably got protested. Now he did get booted from the event, like right after he did it. There was admins apparently there, and they booted him on the spot. So maybe it was just a swift justice thing, and there isn't a follow up.
So Donnie was talking about the restarts, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But it had me thinking about how there's just so often there's not consequences. Oh yeah, Donnie was talking about the restarts, and then you said, well, what about on iRacing? And then I mentioned that, well, there's never really any severe consequences for abuse like that. You get a warning. Who knows how many times if you're laying back on the restarts. They almost need some kind of more intermediate penalties, but between warnings and bans. Maybe something that actually affects your stats. Okay, or maybe a ban in just that. As a milder punishment. Yeah, you did a major no in a open, or a minor no in a open. You can't run a open in this.
Where do people draw the line where you can talk about this? Look, Max Verstappen is a public figure, at least in this sport, and so
that changes
this
your
is
rules
public
to privacy.
news.
Yeah, that changes his right to certain levels of privacy because he gets that money. Okay, and the actor who played Jon Snow, I forget his name. I remember him interview. I love the acting. I don't get paid for the acting. I get paid for having to deal with all the fame.
Let me say this. So iRacing draw the line on if it's on the forums, they're going to take it down. Okay. But if it's public, like in YouTube, so let's talk about YouTube. There's several videos this week, and I have them all on the script from iRacers who post YouTube videos, and they're talking about Max Verstappen and the incident. Is that enough for iRacing to punish the YouTubers because they just posted a video about it? No.
Well, if that was really that protestable, you couldn't broadcast a race. Sit there and say somebody caused the wreck, on iRacing, then you're going to get protested.
It's interesting for sure. The whole scenario.
All right, next up, Donnie, we have winning with style.
Alex Horn posted a Twitter video of a spectacular way to take the checkered flag at Lime Rock Park. And he tweeted, in an unconventional method of taking the checkered at Lime Rock Park, however, a win is a win.
So for the audio listeners, it's Lime Rock. He's coming to the checker. He spins it out on the last corner, and he spins it around backwards. He's actually rolling backwards, and then a car hits him, flying him in the air, twisting. He actually flies up and over pit road, behind pit road, as he crosses the checker with Barney waving the flag there. He's actually behind Barney, flipping over into the crowd, actually.
That car did not try to not hit him either. I almost think they set this up. I think he had such a giant lead that they set it up.
You think that yellow car was on the lead lap?
I would like to know. I would love to see how far ahead he was or not, because he didn't try to dodge him at all.
Pretty neat way to cross the checker. Have you ever gotten wrecked at Talladega coming to the checker, and then you're like down in the grass, or you're backwards and you're trying to limp it to the line before everyone else does? Kind of like get out and run.
Talladega could be the worst because you can clip that cone, and now you're sent back to the end on once the race goes official. So Talladega's kind of rough if you have to start dodging cars at the end.
A little.
I was going to say that second place car is probably licking his chops, seeing that happening on the last turn there on that to the finish line.
Yeah, a little side note: if in the real race, in the real world, if you get out and push the car, you're disqualified.
So with him, back on the video we're talking about, with him flying through the pits, over the pits, and then it looks like he disappears and resets in the pits potentially, would that almost take his win away, or is it when you cross the line?
Once you cross the line, race is over.
So I know they got that 2 or 3 minute buffer at the end of the race where you can still accrue points.
You can still get incidents.
So
he got incidents. He did get an incident from it, but his finish is good.
Yeah, I guess as long as he wasn't near the DQ limit or that.
Yeah, I think the way that works, Donnie, is you can get incident points until the last car crosses the line. I think that's how it works.
Yep.
I just wait for the 15-minute timer to go down, or to start, I should say.
And he doesn't have to worry about getting close to the DQ limit. His name's not Mike.
That's right.
All right. This looks fun. Brian, have you checked this one out? There's some iRacing karting.
Yeah, this is actually a YouTube video from DJ EJ, and man, I'm with Mike. He's really starting to become one of my favorite guys to watch videos about iRacing, because he does really good videos. He does a lot of research, and he makes them funny too. There's some really funny parts in this video. So basically, it was the history of karting and iRacing. Very little known, but he goes back to the original version of iRacing and found that they had some there were some kart tracks in there. They had scanned a kart. One of the kart tracks was one of the ones that was in the Boston area, which is near where iRacing is. So it would make sense that it was all local. So apparently this was something that they actually worked on in the original version of iRacing. And it just didn't go too far from there. There were some issues with, the tire model didn't work real well with the tire model at the time. I think it was based on the size of the tires and no suspension at all in the karts like they are. And there was even some leaked video, which I had never heard about. Apparently, he dug up a story that one of the iRacing designers, it was disgruntled and actually leaked some video and a picture which he found of karts in iRacing, and it was really, really cool looking. But apparently it wasn't. The models weren't really great. It wasn't up to the standard even at the time of iRacing at what they were at. So it never got released. It kind of got shelved for a while. And there's been some thoughts and possibility that the new tire model might make this a possibility again. They're better at scanning and getting better graphics on the thing. So it was a really neat video. If you're interested in karting and the secret history of karting in iRacing, this is something you really want to watch.
How does he get his information? I mean, he really does research. I have no idea where he gets all this information, but you're right. In fact, we have 3 of his videos on our script today because this guy's a monster. He's cranking out content. And the other part of it is he's doing editing. He's adding graphics. He's putting music. He's doing funny bits where he includes video from other things, and he puts a lot of effort into these things. So like Brian said, they're fun to.
Well, something that did make it up to the standards was the off-road trucks, Brian.
Yeah, so this past week was another race at Bark River for the off-road truck series. They do 2 basic races in the same day. So there's actually 2 winners of the week. Joel Blewett is the winner for the first race.
We lost.
You copy? Sorry about that. So Parker Retzlaff won the second race at Bark River. So he's apparently doing a lot of different types of racing as well.
Yeah, I'm noticing
I
the
am
sim
such a fan
coaches.
of
Sorry, yeah, the sim coaches sponsored truck is leading the points. Keaton Swain.
Yeah, I'm such a fan of Parker and how he's doing real racing, he's doing sim racing, he's doing it all, and he's getting it done too.
I know we made fun of the Fox cartoon headshots for real life racing, but NBC does some of the drivers dirty, and Parker's one of them. I don't know if you've noticed his mugshot on NBC during the ticker, but it looks like he needs a new one.
Well, next question is: do these tracks, Donnie, need new pit roads?
Some do. I was going through it. A lot of dirt tracks he has on here, but again, DJ EJ posted a video this week of what he considers the wildest pit roads in iRacing. And number one's kind of weird for me. It's Lernerville. It's the dirt track oval, and you have to exit the track via, I think, turn 3 potentially. Don't quote me on that. And then essentially Baja off into the dirt and then into your pit lane. I'm curious how accurate that is, because there's no way you're accessing that pit road at speed.
No, and I think he said in the video that's not exactly how Lernerville is, but yeah, I mean it's like a launch ramp trying to get off turn 3 because you're in a bowl basically with a pretty high bank track, and you have to leave once you get off of the bank, it drops back off, so it's like a ramp. It's pretty fun actually. I've messed around with Lernerville because the whole back side of the track, there's no fence at all. So, if you want to have some fun, you can take your sprint car into turn 2 and see how far you can launch it in the air. I've done that a few times.
If they could put a field out there, you could actually do eye mudding.
Yeah, turn it into an off-road race. Number 3, Oxford Plains ones is pretty weird as well.
A lot of these are small tracks, dirt tracks, stuff where you wouldn't really need to pit during a race in reality. But, he's looking at it anyway because obviously iRacing does need to build pits in, even if it is, a dirt track where they don't intend you, to pit.
I was looking at Berlin a couple of weeks ago. ARCA went there, and their pit road is wild. It doesn't make any sense. It's a short track, and it probably doesn't take the big series there that often. But SRX will be there, I believe, this season. And I'm curious if we ever get Berlin on iRacing, what that pit road's going to be like, because it's kind of weird. You enter, I think, off of turn 2 maybe, and you just make a hard left down the middle of the facility. It doesn't have a traditional pit lane that goes across the front stretch.
I don't know if we still have it, but there was a Phoenix road course within the oval at one point, and I don't know if it was rally or what, but you had to go down to this where the semi truck was and basically take a hard left around this wall to get out of there. It was crazy. I kind of thought I was going to see that track I just spoke of on his video, but no, he covered a bunch of them, but that wasn't on the list.
Hey, Mike, hold your button down a little bit longer when you're finishing you're cutting off your last word, it seems like. So, all right.
Okay.
The next up is a quick hit. I'll take this one. What's your fave? Track voting for each series is now open on the iRacing forum, so you can get involved in deciding. So basically, there are community managers for all the series, essentially, on the forums that are kind of volunteers, and they'll throw up a poll. They vote on a bunch of tracks, and then they throw together a schedule. And as much as they can, they will make some of the schedules be lined up with real life. So your A Open almost always follows the NASCAR season, except for the off weeks. IMSA is the same way. Usually they are pretty smart to have it the same time as the special race, if there's the Spa or the 24 or the Daytona or anything like that. So if you want to have a little bit of say on what tracks are ending up on there, that's interesting. I was thinking how I kind of miss Laguna Seca, not Laguna Seca. Well, I haven't been on Laguna Seca or Lime Rock in forever because IMSA never goes there. So I'd like that. I hope that might happen. But they've been going to all the new European tracks every season.
How exactly do you navigate to the voting part of it? Because it just takes me to the form. Do I go to the ovals?
You'll go down to oval racing or road racing, and then look for the series for each forum. There's a subsection for every series.
Yeah, Justin Slavic, I'm in the GT4 forum right now, and a staffer will post. Usually there's a staffer related to each type of racing, and they'll post a schedule template of what you want to input, and then you submit that schedule, your schedule, and that's your way of voting. And then they take I'm assuming they take the highest vote getters, or for lack of a better word, and then they put a schedule together. And with this particular one, they've got it pretty well dialed in, and they've got like seasons in the future forecasted of what they're most likely going to be. So some series are pretty well squared away on their future scheduling.
Now, kind of going off of David, now I mainly run A Open, so I assume the series will stay the same all season, and this only applies for like the off weeks.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to vote out Pocono or Indiana race, whatever, blah, 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 that road course is.
Good, because I was kind of disappointed when I seen this. I was like, don't mess with the schedule.
No, they'll work it around. Now I know on All-Star Week they did. It also depends how the week 13 falls, because like with Sonoma, week 13 fell when NASCAR was racing. But so they ran Sonoma in A Open either the week before or the week after, because there was an off week in there. So they just went ahead and ran Sonoma. So if they'll try to make sure they get all the tracks that are actually raced in.
I'd like to find it. I can't. I've been trying to find it the last couple minutes, but I thought I read a forum post at the beginning of the year saying that iRacing may start shifting the schedules to line up with the calendar year to get season 1 to start in January as opposed to December. Have you guys heard anything about that? If they wanted to, the only really way to do it is, I guess, extend out season 4, make it longer than typical 12-week schedule. Why do they start it in December?
Because it's just evenly split, 13 weeks times 4, basically. So I guess they could shift the whole thing, to, like you said, so it starts at the beginning of the calendar year. Who knows?
It may just have a legacy from when they started the first season, and it happened to be not on a multiple of 3 months.
What day did they start, right? And ever since then, it's been, because they're doing these 12-week software development cycles, which is common in software development, guys. So that's probably what drives it. And then the week 13 is your build week, which means you're going to put it out, you're going to fix bugs, and hopefully everything will go good.
I will say this: I don't think January is the best time to have a build drive, considering everybody's on holiday.
That's true. That could be another aspect of why they start in December. I think when I first started, my first season was 14 weeks because of leap year, or the end of my first season, I should say. I kind of remember that.
Woo Mike. No, actually, I got the wrong name. Woo Brian.
That's right. World of Outlaws Late Models, presented by Bookkicker. Week 2. Those guys were at Fairbury Speedway on Monday night. That's a tight little bull ring type track. wide though, so you do get some good side by side and different lines going at a Fairbury Speedway. Blake Majulis won the pole position for the first heat and won that race, so he took the pole for the feature. Evan C, who won last week and is the series points leader, he finished third in the qualifying, and won his heat, which was heat 3, so he started in third place. And those two guys really kind of ran away with this one. It was a 50 lap feature, and they had 4 cautions fairly early in the race. But once we had some green flag laps, Blake Majulis and was just leading the way with Evan C trying to run him down. Those guys are actually teammates, so you saw a lot of clean racing, nothing super aggressive, but Blake Majulis was able to hold off Evan C to get the win. Evan C finishes second, which of course keeps him in the points lead over Blake Majulis in second, Kendall Tucker in third. So another solid week for Evan C. And if you go back to last week, he's finished first or second in every race for 1 full season and 2 of the next season. So still just dominating, even though Blake shows some real speed and could be a threat in this series if he gets some good runs in and maybe Evan runs into some bad luck. So look forward to some more really good racing. These guys are putting on a good show.
Sounds great. I need to not miss this race and see what the fuss is all about.
Yep, and just like anybody else, if you want to watch replays, they are available on iRacing's YouTube channel. You can watch any of these replays, and they put on some really good shows in these late models. I wasn't going into dirt when iRacing came with dirt. I wasn't a big fan of the late model racing. I was more of a sprint car fan, but watching these guys in the late models is really a lot of fun because they put on some good racing. You can beat and bang a little bit because you have fenders on the car. Really good racing in this series.
Hey, Justin, you wouldn't happen to have a twin brother, would you?
No, David.
Well, why don't you tell us about Twin Ring Sensei?
Yeah, Nick Nebon proposes a series at the Twin Ring with all different types of cars.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's kind of playing off of the new series with the Nürburgring, where it's the same track every week and a different car for 12 weeks. And he was proposing maybe a twin ring being a version of that for oval cars.
I dig it. I'd join.
This track like Gateway,
but like twice as big. Yeah.
There are leagues that do this already, like particularly for plate tracks. There are some leagues that literally only run Daytona and Dega.
I love this. The last time I watched a race at this track, it was Greg, our teammate. Greg Hectus was racing in some kind of event. I forget what exactly it was, some special event. And it has good racing there for sure. I remember the track well, but we never run it. And so this is a great idea. I really like it. I like the road version at the ring, but this is great because I'm an oval driver and I look at this list of cars that he's proposing, week 1 through 12. Let's go through it. Next gen, first week. Heck yeah. ARCA, the IR01 jet car on week 3, Xfinity, 87s, then the IndyCar, the trucks, the car of tomorrow, Silver Crown, Gen 4, Gen 6, and finally Legacy truck.
I think they're missing the sprint car on there. What do you think, Mike?
Well, Silver Crown is pretty close.
I'm surprised they haven't actually done this with the iRacing Super Speedway. Now that I'm thinking about it and listening.
Yeah, I like this idea. I'm not sure if Twin Ring would be my choice of track for it. I'm not even sure if I'd want to do this with a super speedway. I think I'd like to do this with a little smaller track that you get a little bit of off throttle time in.
I'd have to agree with you, Brian. That's why I asked if this was like Gateway, because I had no luck with that track. I just got ran over every turn, especially 1 and 2.
Pretty neat idea.
Maybe something that's a little odd, like Pocono. How about Pocono? It's a big enough track. You get some high speeds in there with some of the faster cars. You're still braking. It's not a traditional oval track. I don't know. That's just a thought.
The problem with the roadside is, the ringmeister, it's because it's the ring. It's like, when you think of road tracks, the ring has a special place in most people's heart, just because of the length of it, and it's such a challenge. And most people, when they get in a road car to try it, that's the one track they go to and test. So I just think that's a big draw, just because it's what I call a name. So when we do this on the oval side, we need a name. We need a track people know, not like twin ring Motegi.
Darlington.
Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Have you ran Ringmeister yet, Mike?
Yeah, I ran the GR86 and I got embarrassed and wrecked.
It was not just ourselves, but I'm finding like I don't know if it's just pulling everybody to the series, but there's just a lot of crazy etiquette involved with that series and that track that it's kind of frustrating.
A lot of newbies maybe that shouldn't be there, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like me.
trying to pass every corner when there's gonna be like a 7-mile backstretch. You can overtake me then.
But there is you can't really say that it's lap 1 when the race probably only has 3 laps.
It's turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, turn 4. They're all trying to get it.
All right, we can all chime in on this next one. I'll kind of introduce it. We've talked about something like this in the past. Matt Wise has asked for ChatGTP's help in organizing an iRacing convention. And I guess this is all suggestions that ChatGTP said you would have to think about. So we don't have to go into all those details. You can look at that through our link on the forums. But it is interesting, and I think our biggest concern is put it in the U.S.
North America.
Yeah, if iRacing puts a convention together, definitely will most likely, I think, be in the Northeast, and definitely in the U.S., being a U.S.-based company. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if iRacing's big enough to hold a convention, but obviously we have sim racing conventions overseas, but we definitely need one on this side of the pond.
We can have it in Charlotte in partnership with NASCAR.
That'd be great too.
Involve the Hall of Fame.
We'll do the pod live at the convention.
I'm going to say it right now. I will go and do a show if they have one.
I kind of know how these conventions work in various industries. You have a company that puts on conventions, and then to make money, they target a particular industry, and then they basically get enough people to sign up for booths that they can pull it off, And so I've seen this in digital signage, and I think that's how they're doing this Sim Racing Expo over in Europe. It's the same kind of business concept where a company is just putting on the expo, and then they're they're the ones selling the booths and making sure the hardware manufacturers show up, because they're the ones who really make this happen. I don't know if iRacing is the one who initiate a convention in the United States, but I think it's driven by the hardware manufacturers and the money because they're the ones who want to get in front of the people, show off and showcase their product. iRacing is just going to be another booth at the convention.
That's if it goes sim racing. Now we have conventions for music all the time. In fact, that's where I'm going to be next week. I'll be at a band directors convention. We had where all of the different instrument vendors and instrument repair shops and fundraising companies buy booths, right? And they try to smooth us up and get us to buy their products. they're the funding, but it's still organized by band directors. It's because it's also a conference, and so there's a lot of um, classes, in service type meetings and stuff, seminars that happen as well. I guess at least for non-commercial conventions, they still are commercial, but so it could be organized by iRacing, but they're going to need to get probably pretty much every sim racing manufacturer involved.
Yeah, they could be the flagship. They could be the promoter. You're going to have another organization come in and actually run the day-to-day portion of the convention, like security, all that stuff, the badge checking and whatnot. But yeah, it's crazy. Comic-Con's this weekend. This is one of the first years. Well, we haven't been in a couple years, but we used to go every year, and now it's just way too crazy. I won't even attempt to go anymore.
In the forum post, Robert Barris reminds us about iRaceforLife.org 2016 iRacing seminar in Dallas, Texas. I remember talking about this on our show, but that was a pretty neat get together. They brought together several rigs and maybe 50 people, I think it was, and they had like seminars on how to iRace and how to race, and it was about everything iRacing. It was pretty cool. I think it was like a week long, and Dallas, Texas. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about. Maybe we get something like that going again. That's a little different than the expo.
All right, so I'm looking at the events section. Have we already missed Spa? I thought that was coming up still.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, it starts this weekend. Okay, so that's coming up. We don't have any of the details pulled up. We covered that last week, but also, Justin, we've got the Race for More that we talked about a few times.
Yeah, David, iRacing presents the Race for More 2.4 benefiting the National MS Society on August 3rd. It's the first time hearing about it.
It's because you haven't been here.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, but it's a really good race, benefiting the National MS Society. So it's for a great cause, obviously, and I always like to bring this up because it's always the race where Greg West will spill some secrets for donations. So we'll keep an eye out for this when it comes up, and see if we get any spoilers for future builds from Greg.
We're 2 weeks out right now. It's on a Thursday night. Okay, you wouldn't think of that, but yeah, it's a Thursday night, August 3rd. If you're available, try to get involved. Pretty neat thing. I would suspect after this weekend, we'll start getting some more, information about this, maybe some more tidbits as they release stuff about, upcoming stuff like they did in the previous year. All right, podcast housekeeping. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform to make it easier for more listeners to find us. Mention the podcast to your fellow drivers so they don't miss out. We do appreciate it. We are on Discord. Get over there, and I would have asked you guys to try one of these things we're going to be talking about in hardware software. Get involved. Or check the website, iRacersLounge.com, for the show notes. And we are in regular rotation at Performance Motorsports Network.
All right, Brian, how'd it go with fantasy?
So NASCAR had New Hampshire Motor Speedway this week, and the winner of the week turned out to be none other than me. I won.
Whoa, well done.
Check that out. I just went to check and see, because I don't even remember who I picked. I was shocked as anybody when I saw in the chat that I won the week. I was like, who the heck did I pick? I don't even remember. But I had first, second, sixth, and seventh, I think it was. And then I had Christopher Bell, who finished way down. So pretty decent. I had 230 points for the week. GI Jojo 24X finished second, and Tony the Tiger, Tony Rochette, good job from him, finished third.
Yeah, Bell and Blaney screwed me. So I was up there. I think I won stage 1, but those two guys really took it out of me.
I think Bell got a lot of people.
Well, I had Bell and I won. So if he would have done really well, I probably still would have won. I just put up better points, I guess.
I had Byron too, and for whatever reason, I don't know if it was that contact on pit road, but he never went back up front.
All right. Who do you guys like next week?
I like the Reddick.
I think Walklands Glen and Pocono's Chase's only chance.
Well, you got those wild card speedways, but I'm not sure if I'm going to pull the trigger too hard on the new guys coming in for this particular racetrack, because turn 1 is such a variable that it almost presents a restrictor type feel to it, because anything can happen in that terribly designed turn 1 at Indy. So wait, Pocono this week. Never mind. I apologize.
I was going to say Blaney for Pocono.
Yeah, I was thinking a week ahead. Blaney's good. Harvick, Truex.
In some weird ways, Pocono almost behaves like Atlanta, except you can get a little bit of separation. But the draft is just still so gigantic.
Now, does the 42 car blow up his brakes again in Pocono? Because that's a good track to do it at.
It's not a turn 1.
I mean, he blew him again this weekend, so I'm curious what they're going to do for Pocono for him.
Do you think that's an equipment thing or a Noah thing?
No.
They've been struggling. They could just be doing something wrong internally, not putting the cars together right. Who knows?
So if we go over the overall league standings, we still have Canadian in first place, Team Dwan in second, Trick Dickle in third, North South Racing in fourth, and Res Dog in fifth. And I think Tony Gross is in 10th, and I don't see it on the list, but Donnie, there he is, Donnie Spiker, 12th place. So he's rising in the points.
Let's talk some hardware software sponsored by Metro Ford of Chicago. We're going to open it up with the Cube Controls SP01 pedals. These have been, are they just now being released? What's going on now, Mike?
Sale, 10% off. So if you're interested in these, now is a good time. Don't know how many they've sold, but they're putting them on sale now to try to get some more.
Didn't they have a couple of other products on sale as well? Or at least they did last week, because we were going to cover it last week.
It says here in the post the pedals and the sim racing socks. So now these are 989 euros for a throttle and a brake and their load cell.
They
Would
look
you
nice,
pick
but that's
these
too high.
over, what do they compare to? Heiskenvelds?
How much do the Heisks run?
I bought mine for $1,100 after discount.
Okay.
Yours come with a clutch or just 2 pedals?
Clutch. But mine's
And a
not
base plate?
hydraulic.
Yeah, neither
Neither
is
of
this.
these.
Okay. Yeah, mine came with a base plate also.
I don't think these have a base plate with them.
Did yours come with a heel plate as well?
No, because I use my cockpit's heel plate.
All right, this one is pretty neat looking. This might be a competitor for one of the nicest button boxes, particularly if you like the sports car side of things. We have the EP Lab 296 Pro, And it's basically almost designed to look like the console on a stock car. It's got a row of 4x4 buttons, start buttons, four safety toggles, and I guess that middle is a knob.
It
Is
looks
that
like
a fan at the bottom? What is it?
I was just going to ask that. It looks like the brake bias knob up top. I'm curious if that's an actual fan.
That would be nice if it was.
I don't think so. So, Dave, this is actually supposed to be modeled after the GT3 Ferrari. And it's kind of funny how they put it. You can tell they don't have a Ferrari a license because it says that it's dedicated to the very famous Italian car manufacturer. But it's supposed to look like the GT3 Ferrari.
Yeah, and it'd be right there below where your car stereo would be, in that console area.
So the features do say fan, but it's only for aesthetics.
Why?
Because that's what's in
It
the
looks cool.
Ferrari, I guess. I don't know.
I'm gonna have to jump back in the Ferrari on iRacing and look for the fan.
Now the price, holy cow, €529.
And it doesn't even have the sticker on it.
We're a fan.
So you're saying, Brian, if the fan was on there, it would be worth it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'll blow on your knees, I guess.
Now scroll down on the page and look at the pictures below with it lit up. It looks pretty bomb.
I actually like the look of it a lot. The layout's nice. It's symmetrical. I like things to be in place. I don't hate the way this thing looks. Now, the price is a little crazy, but
High end. It's a high end button box for sure.
What do we have next, Brian?
Another button box. This one from Sim Engineering. It's called the 911BB button box. So it's a Porsche replica this time. So we're moving from a Ferrari to Porsche. And this is a big one. It's got a bunch of toggle switches, rotary dials, and it's kind of like V-shaped from top to bottom. It's not real wide, but it's tall and narrow. So I guess that's what the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup looks like. So yeah, it's a pretty decent looking box, pretty thick. So and it looks like it mounts fairly easily from the back. It's kind of hard to tell, which is always an issue with button boxes.
Is this the one that comes from DSD? Because I know they have one that's in the similar shape.
No, it's not.
No.
the Sim Engineering.
Yeah, that's right. It's Sim Engineering.
Yeah, so there's several versions of this out there because the shape looks really familiar if you've been covering hardware long enough now.
It's big. I like the big. If I had to pick, I like the other one though. The first one we looked at.
All right, do we have a replacement for Track IR? Is that what I'm looking at here next?
This is crazy. It's basically an Android app that does head tracking, and the Sim Racing Corner has a YouTube video showing you exactly how it all works.
What's the purpose
Now,
for it?
I
Mike?
don't. Well, it's like the Track IR. I guess, David, why don't you tell us what you think about that?
Well, Track IR was, I think Greg used to use one. Is something in a lot of flight sim players like to use it as well. It's basically something that would use, I think, infrared cameras or some kind of tracking to track your head movement, so that you could actually look with your in different directions, and it would move with your monitor. Whereas, VR kind of does the same thing, and this looks like this is basically accomplishing the same thing, either visually or with the gyroscope. I'm not sure, but it's basically allowing him to look in different places in the car.
It's interesting because it looks like he has his phone or whatever device he has mounted directly in front of him, up above the screen a little. And would this Would this work with triples?
Hmm. Yeah, so I think the phone is using the phone camera to track your head position. It sounds like on this one.
So it's probably just actually following your eyes.
Yeah, yeah. It's like those apps that make you look like a lion or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like the idea. Looking at his video though, is he on an ultra wide or I can't see if he's got bezel hiding kits in there or not, but it's a wide monitor if so. But I don't know. I don't hate this. This is actually kind of cool.
But can you turn your head in a race car though?
Not for real.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
You're right. Yes. No, we can't.
You can't. I've had a Hans device on. Yeah, you get about this much motion. That's it.
I'm chicken to try something like this. I just don't need it. So I'm just like, nah. But there's people out here that might want to try it. Pretty neat, and could be a inexpensive way of trying, because you just get an Android app on your Android phone, and yet there's software that he's downloading and installing here as well that goes with it, that goes on the computer, that obviously interfaces with the phone.
All right, I'm going to come up with a catchphrase for this next one, Donnie. Race long and prosper.
Yeah, I think we've covered this one before after looking at the silhouette. But ProDrive Racing Simulator was conceived with the DNA of ProDrive's real-world motorsport heritage combined with the craftsmanship of the fine interiors from the world's finest mega yachts to create a sculptural statement piece. When you guys sit in your rig and you're enjoying yourself and you spend a ton of money on it, are you thinking mega yacht? I'm not sure I am.
I might be thinking how many megawatts I'm burning.
I mean, the design looks like a design. I'll say that, but I don't know. It's nothing I think about when I think about a sim racing cockpit.
It looks like a Star Trek insignia laying on its side.
Sure does, doesn't it?
It does, yep.
I thought the monitor's too small too. You can't get a big enough monitor in there. Maybe VR would be better for this.
I mean, I know some people really are more into the aesthetic, but you just can't beat the functionality and flexibility that you get with an 80/20 rig. And
I was about to say the same thing.
We cover these, but I'll just never recommend them.
Yeah, they're more, and I always go back to they're more for if you own in my opinion, if you own a business or something, you want to put something cool looking in your lobby, or yeah, it's not a practical rig in my opinion if you're doing this nightly or as a hobbyist. I don't see anybody cruising around in that rig.
If you're a vendor kind of showing it off, I think it would be cool.
Yeah, and it's the laid out, and that is wood, right? That frame is made out of wood, I believe, bent wood.
The whole part of having a roof or something over your head just seems like silly. I don't.
Yeah, if it's not that 17 car we saw from a few years ago, yeah, I don't want a roof over my head.
Now, don't forget the roof over your head if you're doing ambient lighting. That's less silly.
Much less silly.
All right, Mike, we have a handbrake.
We have the Carl Gosling reviews the Mecha Evo handbrake. Now, if you recall, a few weeks ago, he put out a review video of their sequential shifter, and he liked it and it went well, so they sent him the handbrake, and he likes it. I mean, he likes the fit and finish. He likes the really long handle. There's no flex. Just like the sequential, it's a monster to try to mount. It doesn't have good mounting options. But if you can get it mounted, yeah, he likes it. I was thinking about a handbrake last week, actually. I was like, do I need one? Do I want one? Where would I put it? would I want it to match my sequential shifter? Because uh, the company that makes my sequential shifter, they have a handbrake as well, and so I thought, oh, it'd be cool to have matching handbrake. But I don't know if I would use it.
Isn't the word that the rally racers don't really even use them on iRacing?
Right. We heard directly from Mitchell DeYoung once, and who's one of the fastest in rally, and he's like, honestly, it slows you down. You're better off not touching.
So is that like a damnation on iRacing's physics when it comes to that? Because I'm pretty sure the guys in the real world use their handbrakes.
Could be.
I mean, they're going to town in those things, shifting, using their handbrake, doing all sorts of stuff.
Maybe it was his driving style. I don't know.
Yeah, he's obviously an alien because I've tried to drive those things without using a handbrake and I can't get around a corner. I'm sure with enough time and practice you can figure it out, and obviously he has it. But every time I get one of those cars, I have to use a handbrake to get the car to go around.
I think I'll get one eventually. I think I do want to get the matching handbrake from the Russia guy, but that'll be a long term down the road kind of thing after I get everything else.
Heal, Brian, heal.
I'm right though.
Yeah. If there was a behind the show, that would be a good one. But heal, seriously. Tell us about it.
Oh boy. So next up, for all of your heel rest needs, ProSimRig offers their universal heel rest, soon to be available in the worldwide markets. Works with 80/20 rigs. It's just a extra wide, a 3 wide set of 80/20 profiles with just a solid plate attached to it. So if you have pedals and you don't have a good heel plate for it, this might be the answer you're looking for.
Yeah, pretty straightforward, pretty simple, pretty lean.
You guys ever look at the bottom of your shoes after time and see what damage you've done to them, or your wear patterns, I should say?
Mine are pretty worn out, and I've shown. I don't know if I showed it to y'all, but I know I definitely showed it to Lawrence. The rubber marks on my brakes and throttle. It's scarred. It's like literally, it looks like, I guess, like a racetrack does after it's taken on rubber.
Yeah, I've noticed with the machined aluminum like this, if you get any debris, and I'm not saying this is your case, but any debris on that surface or inside any of the joints and it rubs, it's going to groove it. But I got the Converse slip-ons, and it's like that, got that gummy tactile feeling on the bottom, so I don't have nothing on my pedal surface.
I just wear my same shoes that I lift in. They're just kind of flat lifting shoes. Main reason I have them is because they're slip-ons, and because I hate tying or constantly having to retie shoes. Yada yada yada.
Yeah, slip-ons are the way to go. Can't do socks. Those guys are animals.
Not with those pedals, and you know why.
I'm barefoot right now, so I'm just playing with the pedals as we're talking, and my brake foot is getting a little tender. I just can't wear socks without shoes anyway. It just feels weird if my feet get dry and then I got a sock on. I don't know.
All right, next up is an update from Highsconfield Engineering. They have released a new firmware update, and it features the ability to run Smart Control Live, which is compatible with all their products, I guess. The Sprint, the Ultimate Plus, and the Handbrake. It also is supposed to speed up some of the electronics by quite a bit.
You tried it out yet, Justin?
This one's for you.
No, not yet. I'm actually just finding out about it, and I've seen if I got it updated or not. I'm trying to figure out the version.
Well, there's a link there in the description of the Instagram that you can click for the Smart Control Live.
Do you guys mess with your pedal settings a lot?
Maybe.
I have defaults now that I switch back and forth depending on if I'm a sports car or the stock car. If I'm in the stock car, it has a curve to it so that it's more sensitive at the top and less sensitive in the middle, basically, which gives me a more fine-tuned control when I'm on the edge of spinning out. Don't need that in a sports car. They have traction control.
Yeah, the sports car is basically a straight plane for the most part. But I'm a nerd, Justin. I have a book next to my rig that I have for every car for every track. And sometimes for the cup car, I'll deviate a certain throttle input, depending on not too much, but mainly what David said is what I use. But there are times I have to adjust for the track if I'm using too much throttle off corner. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I say I mess around with it a little bit.
Now at road courses, I actually switch it. No, at road courses I leave the curve, but at the plate tracks, I'll make it flat.
Just nice option to have, that's for sure.
Like the only thing I've ever messed with is I can put a little I think I put like a 5% delay when I press brake pedal so I can get to the stiffer part and get more control.
Yeah, usually I set mine when I'm resting on them. Then I'll click them, reset them at 0 there. That way the rest doesn't usually have a problem with it.
All right, Mike, you might take this one. Don't you have 4 corners on your butt kickers, or no? You just run 2. I know Joe has 4 corners, but we've got a video about slip angle butt kickers.
Yeah, we got Carl Gosling again posting up a video. This time, if you recall, a few weeks ago, he put up a video of the base shaker kit that you can buy that puts it on all 4 corners. And I think it was $500 for the whole kit. The amps, the cables, the base shakers, the little mounts, the little rubber feet things with the springs on them, all these different things. And it was and he liked it. So ever since then, Butt Kicker contacted Carl and said, "Hey, we would like you to test our stuff, as a comparison to that product." And so, sure enough, they sent him 4 Gamer Pluses. He wired them up, hooked them up, ran them. Basically, at the end of the day, they accomplished the same thing. They both worked. They both did a great job. I think he liked the slip angle one a little bit better. But it really boiled down to cost. I mean, the cost for the butt kickers was quite a bit more. I think they're approaching $280 a piece, and there's 4 of them. So yeah, do the math. So it's almost double, or double, what the other kit costs. And so at the end of the video, he basically said, go with the slip angle shaker kit if you're going to do it.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. You can one option for $12.99 on sale right now, and then also $1,099. So the Pro for $12.99 and the Plus for $1,099. I haven't got into haptics yet. How much will that impact my power supply if I were to decide to go with 4 units?
Well, you're plugging them into an amp.
Yeah, they draw the power.
You're plugging it into power.
Oh, okay.
They're wattage of power. They're not little headphone speakers. A PC could not power them.
Okay, that makes sense.
Doesn't
the amp goes to the PC though, right?
Yeah, it just has an input that's usually an audio type.
Audio.
Jack.
Okay. All right, that makes sense.
My newest one has a USB instead of audio, just a USB cord that goes into the computer with the butt kicker haptic software. Now, in my opinion, after doing what I did, which take the butt kicker plus and stick it to the bottom of my butt, literally, an inch away from my butthole. Title idea. Um, but literally, it kicks you in the butt. What is the name of it? It's a butt kicker. So literally, let it kick you in the butt. Having it that close is very effective. It's very effective.
Kind of like a vibrating thing, right? Near your butt.
Well, I'm running a lot of RPM kind of engine vibration stuff through it. And that's the reason I kind of have two is I run a lot of the vibration stuff through the one under the butt and then all the other stuff through the second one that's attached to the rig.
We almost made it to 400. Now, the butt kicker is actually really valuable. I don't have mine quite mounted directly to the seat, but it's on the back outer frame, and I can definitely feel it. I've got the gigantic one, and it's been really helpful with Pocono because I can feel the car. It starts when it starts vibrating. It means I'm tight, and it means I'm about to snap loose.
Now I've heard this from our teammate Steve Thompson, and we've heard it from others, and even Carl Gosling. There's a value to having four of them, to having one on each corner, because you can program it, front left, front right, rear left, and so on. And that way you feel what David just described, but you feel it in which corner of the car are you feeling it, and you can really dial it in where you're feeling it on the left or the left rear.
Yeah, because you could probably dial up. I exaggerate the tire slip on the balance settings, so it tells it basically, along with changing my audio settings where I can hear the tires louder, it tells me when the tires are sliding to compensate for the fact that you don't actually have the seat of the pants feel.
Mike, was the Carl Gosling fellow, was he referring to the slip angle, that piece we've put on here before?
Right. It had a flat plate with a transducer, and it had like a rubber piece with a spring.
Okay. So I'm ignorant to haptics, and that's my next step. I want to do that. I've looked at this company. We've talked about it quite a bit. We've had positive reviews, not us, but the people we've discussed review it, and then this guy as well. So I like the idea of trying this and then having that fifth haptic being a butt kicker either behind or under my seat.
Ooh, best of both worlds.
Well, I think we need to mosey on over to the Mosey Experience Center, Justin.
Yeah, the Moza Experience Center is a website where you can get all of your Moza products. So is this just kind of like a vendor list for them?
It's a place where you can go and try their equipment, actually. And so they literally have a list. You pick your continent, so I'll hit North America. And there's Six Sigma Sim Racing in Ontario. There's Advanced Sim Racing in Quebec. There's Axon Sim Center in Richmond, British Columbia. And there's also an Axon in Burnaby, British Columbia. A few others, Ontario, and there's Podium 1, Franklin, Tennessee. We'll talk about them later in the show. And then WR1 in Muskogee, Oklahoma. So we've talked about this before, where people are looking for a place to try sim racing, to see if they want to try it before they buy it. Well, here you go. We just listed off some places for you.
I'll buy that plane ticket tomorrow.
Now, I'll do a follow-up story on the guy who I invited over to try iRacing. Last text I got from him is he was asking me about how to put a computer together. And I sent him a video to Linus Tech Tips. and told him, "Go for it. You ain't gonna mess it up."
So Donnie, have you ever had your PC just bothering you so much that you had to go shoot PC, shoot PC?
I didn't think this was real, and I still don't think it's real, but apparently tech testers have a video of a PC that looks like an athletic shoe. It looks exactly like a shoe, um, down to the shape of the tongue to everything. But yeah, they built a PC in the shape of a shoe.
It is real. Now, what I was like, wow, this is kind of neat. Maybe I'm interested in something oddball like this. But then one of the cons that the lady didn't like about it was if you need to plug in a USB, you actually have to take it apart. You have to take off one of the panels just to get to where the USBs are. And so that kind of like, well, that's a deal killer right there.
Can I hook up like 14 USB devices to it?
It only had a few. It didn't have a lot, but there are some.
I mean, it's cool. It's artistic. It's somebody built this. It looks cool, but yeah, I don't know how practical it could be, other than being an art piece of some sort. Unless it's one of the early stages of AI, and that's just the right foot of one of those Terminator machines about to kill us in 100 years.
I definitely get Transformer vibes off of it.
Right, like it'll transform into something. I've always
This is-
had this dream of building a computer in an unorthodox way, like this, like not just a rectangle box.
Your
I
next,
I would much rather have the fish tank.
yeah, I was gonna say, Mike, your next PC better be in a fish tank.
The mineral oil stuff, where everything's in liquid.
All right, Brian, let's take it. Or go ahead.
I was going to say this is not just like a one-off type of thing. You can buy this. I think she said it was like 3,300 euros, whatever that comes to. I think it's fairly close transition, but yeah, this is not like a one-off type of artistic thing. You can actually buy this Sneaker X shoe, so it's pretty crazy.
I'll bet though that 3,300, you get the same thing in a plain case, and it's going to be a lot cheaper for the same
Yeah,
specs.
Oh, you're definitely probably paying for the just the design more than probably what's in it.
Well, I mean, people spend a lot of money for real shoes, so
That's the thing. If you had a big, Jordan collection, Nike Jordans or something, maybe you'd be into this. And the lady even said, "Hey, the metal pieces that are all red, those can be all unscrewed and taken apart and then powder coated. You could do them any color you want."
Now, if they had a shoe company like Jordan Brand to license it, obviously you'd pay a lot more of it. And then they're probably going to move some units on that.
they can sponsor a race and make that the trophy. All right, let's jump back to the conventional side of things, Brian. Motion House WinSim.
Yeah, we got the Motion House Wind Simulator. It's coming in at $325. Two fans on this thing, and the control box. Doesn't look like it looks like it's a direct mount. It doesn't have the tubes like we've seen in some of the other ones. Yeah, so it's just a direct mount with a bracket that's attached to the fans. So yeah, nice looking unit. They're all in black. The fans look a little bit different than the ones I've seen, which are typically like cooling fans, PC cooling fans. These look a little beefier. I'm not sure if they put out any more CFMs or not, though.
Are you looking at it?
That's why I like it.
Now, Mike, with the bracket they give you, how are you going to mount that to your rig?
Yeah, I was just looking at that, and they do offer the hoses, Brian, as an option, either red or blue in piece. But what really attracts me to this is those fans. They look beefier than the normal computer fan like the one I'm using, which really, is kind of cute, but I would like it if it blew more air. But to your question, Donnie, I don't, I would think that the mount would go on the upright, that comes up to your wheelbase on either side, but that'd be pretty low.
Yeah, I didn't do wind sim. I just put fans on, and they're industrial fans that I've got wired to a controller that I can flip on and off over here, and they blow pretty good. Well, they blow the airspeed pretty good, but I've never thought about doing it through the sim.
Has anybody? I see there's DIY builds for WinSims. Has anybody done that in our group?
Well, yeah, that's what I have pretty much. I got Kyle Pendygraph 3D printed the little arm that the fan is attached to, but like I've talked about on the show before, it's kind of flimsy. One of them broke, and we need to really redesign it. It's too thin. And like I said, the fan itself is just a computer fan. It's nothing special. It doesn't blow a lot of air. So I actually sent this link to Kyle as an idea of, can we DIY something like this, but pick a better product, a better fan. Now, as far as the electronics, because of my eyesight isn't very good, Kyle actually put together the electronics for me too, which was just a little Arduino board, and you have to do some soldering and that kind of thing. And then software is through SimHub.
So yeah, if you want to get the tubes, I saw that now. It's a $70 option, and you get red and black, or red and blue.
From
sorry.
my experience, the tubes just kill it. I mean, any area you get, it just diminishes a lot. Now, maybe with these big fans, the tubes would be okay, but I really like the placement of where my fans are, which are above the left and right monitor, pointing down at a 45-degree angle. They're out of sight. I don't have to try to mount them low, blowing up. They're blowing kind of down on me. But if I could just replace those with these bigger units, I would be happy. I probably.
Well, speaking of happy, how happy are you with your rim?
Well, very happy actually. An update on that is after I got it, I was spinning it on the SemiCube Pro, and I noticed it kind of was oblong. It was like it wasn't a perfect circle. I'm like, is this thing defective? Is it bent? I sent you guys a video. I whipped out the tape measure, and I measured from the very center of the wheel to the top, and I measured from the center to the bottom, and they were off by a quarter inch. And so I sent the video to Max Pappas Industries, and I asked them, "Hey, is this right? What's up here? Do I have a defective wheel?" And I did get an email back. It took them a little bit to get back to me, but they did. And I actually heard from like a vice president of operations, Bobby O'Malley. And I do want to read to you what he told me. He said, "I spoke with the technical team. Yes, the wheel is designed like this with this offset. It is done for ergonomically reason based on driver feedback from NASCAR." So I don't have a defective wheel. It's as designed, and I don't know. I think the idea is the top is a quarter inch lower. You can see over it and see the dash just a little bit better. That's the only reason I can come up with it why it's like that.
Yeah, mine's the
Just
opposite.
is it now? What kind of wheel do you have?
OMP wheel. I bought that a couple years ago. Wasn't too expensive, but yeah, mine's higher on the top side than the bottom side.
Justin, during the race, as I've been racing this wheel, I think you noted that my tire percentages seem to be better already on this wheel.
Yeah. Usually I got you beat on tire wear, but Pocono, I think we were spot on. We're matching. If not, you're a little better.
Right, and the only thing that's changed is the wheel, right? So it must be the bigger diameter wheels helping me not scrub less tires.
Sounds like I think somebody said that might happen.
Yeah, David mentioned that would be a outcome, but I love it. In summary, yeah, it was $400 at the end of the day. That was a lot for a wheel, but it is what I wanted. It meets all the criteria. I wanted the right color specifically. I never thought I would find one that's the right colors because they're just not out there. And this one, matches all those, and yeah, love it. Perfect.
All right, Justin, we have a big screen beyond VR review.
Yeah, Mr. Will from Boosted Media reviews the Ultra Slim Bi-Screen Beyond VR. And I haven't watched much of this video, David, but I kind of skipped in the middle. This thing's tiny.
Yeah, this is it's the big screen Beyond VR. Yeah, it is like a big pair of sunglasses almost compared to a typical VR, which is much bigger. But it doesn't sacrifice a ton of the resolution that you might see in some of the compared to some of the newer VRs like the Pimax Crystal or the Vero. It's just a little bit less than what they have. It's just a really good quality resolution. It's better than HP Reverb G2 as far as resolution pixels. The only downside of it is if you don't have the base stations for the outside in tracking, you will need the base stations. It just doesn't use inside out tracking, so it doesn't have cameras basically on it.
$1,000, I believe. It's a pre-order. Deliveries begin in Q3, and you're not kidding when you say it's like big sunglasses. Okay, this is the smallest VR I have ever seen in my life. It shows pictures on their website at bigscreenvr.com of people wearing these with like like Sony audio headset just for audio, and the headset just fits right over them. And yeah, there is a strap that goes around the back of your head, but there's nothing really across the top of the head because it's not neat. It's not neat.
Yeah, it kind of looks like the futuristic punk style, like welding glasses you'd see in a movie like that. Not being a VR guy, I'm really indifferent, but they look cool. They don't look as big as all the other ones, like you're saying.
They take prescription lenses and that kind of thing, like the others. Like you can order the prescription lenses and all that.
Exactly, and it doesn't come with controllers either, so you have to use basically the controllers, get your own controllers for them, and the base stations. So that if you don't have those, that is a pretty hefty price to pay. Addition, a big addition to the price of the headset if you don't have those things. If you want controllers, obviously, if you're doing sim racing, controllers aren't necessary. You might need them for setup though.
If you want to use any kind of overlays, you need at least one controller. That's what I have to use to drop my dashboard in place every time.
Yeah, so yeah.
It takes a display port and 2 USBs.
Pretty cool. I mean, this could be the future of VR as far as size goes. They've gotten really big with some of the older Pimax's headsets, which were huge. Even the Crystal's still pretty big. HP and Vero are a little smaller, but I mean, this is like a quarter of the size of one of those.
Right. Will Ford believes what you just said, Brian. This is what he calls a VR game changer. This is different than all the other VR products out there, just based on the size. If I was getting into VR or needed VR, this would be on the top of the list, probably.
Yeah, I might consider it when this reverb gives out, if it does. This is my second reverb, actually. The other one, I basically broke it, dropped it at one point, and it had fallen apart because I used to put it over my headphones instead of under my headphones. But it is pretty
I'm
cool.
going to take this one, David, because I've already talked about the AO logs, handbrake, and shifter. We have a video from Lance Desoswa. I can't say that. He reviews the AO logs, handbrake, and shifter, kind of like a long-term review. As I stated before, I have the shifter, but not the handbrake. These things are beautiful. I mean, they're metal. The handle is metal. Everything is rock solid. There's no play. It gives a nice definitive click as you shift it. It feels like you're shifting, it's not too noisy. The handbrake, it's like any other handbrake, but it's built in a similar style as a shifter. Looking at them together on the screen, yeah, I mean, this is why I would buy two of them, even though I don't use a handbrake very much, because I love the look of it. I think they look great together. But yeah, I did my research when I bought my shifter, and I think this is the best one around. I still do. And so Lance, the guy who did the video, he had a lot of good things to say about it. Uh, these products are from Russia, as I mentioned before, and so I don't know if there's a challenge getting them. I think you can buy them through resellers in Europe, though. But when I purchased mine, well, before the Ukrainian war, uh, I was paying the guy directly in rubles, Russian rubles via PayPal. He was somewhere in Russia.
Next up, we have a report from the iRacing forums by DL Lemon, and he says that the most recent iRacing force feedback update, if you click auto, it's automatically cutting VR SDF Pro from 100% to 50%. So this, I guess, would specifically affect VRS wheel drivers.
No. It's anybody who does the Control A, or you go to F9 and hit auto.
Yeah, you brought this up to me, Mike, in practice the other night, and honestly, I was building a road set. It's like I heard every other word you were saying, but what is this? How do we effectively go around this and go back to the old way? Or is there a way?
Well, that's a trick question. So right now, what he's done is when you used to do F9 and hit auto, it would just set the force feedback for what was proper for that car on that track. And you had to run a couple laps before the auto button would come up. But based on what you have set in the settings of the sim, as far as how big your motor is, like is it 25 Newton meters, it will set that number accordingly. Now, David Tucker, for whatever reason, in the last update, he changed that programming where when you hit auto, it basically does 50% of what it used to do. And so that's what this guy is reporting. And so it doesn't work how it used to, because it doesn't set the force amount to what what I perceived as 100% of what it should be. It sets it roughly 50% of what it should be. Now, I think David was trying to accomplish some kind of safety aspects of some kind. And so the fix is to go into the app INI and find this value and change it from zero, or no, zero point 0.5 to 1. And that puts it basically back to the way it was before. Now, with that being said, David Tucker went on the forums and said this: I'm back from vacation and I'm checking in 2 fixes for releases to members. The other one replaces the auto force factor app INI setting with an intensity slider in the in-sim option screen, so you can tweak how the auto button will behave on the fly, more or less. A value of 100 will make the auto button behave how it did last season, giving you 100% output, and a value of 0% will soften things up. An underlying equation to blend between these 2 models is not optimal. I need to rework it, blah, blah, blah. So now he's going to add a slider into the F9 where you can set it between 0 and 100% and then hit auto. So if you liked it the way it was before, you'll turn that slider to 100% and hit auto, basically. I don't get it, but yeah, it definitely was different, and so I wanted to point this out for anybody who was struggling with it like I was.
All right, one more topic or hardware topic. This, I guess it could be software. Yeah. Leah Noodle, she's tweeted that she made a TikTok AI voice lady spotter pack. Now, so I guess is that just for TikTok, or is it actually usable in iRacing?
No, she's talking about when you go to TikTok and you hear the AI voice that's pretty prevalent in a lot of these videos. She's using that voice as a spotter pack in iRacing.
Oh,
That's incredibly crazy because that would annoy the hell out of me.
I haven't changed
like a real
spotter
robotic
packs.
sounding one.
I haven't changed from the default spotter pack in quite some time. Maybe this is my chance to try something different.
You need to get the Jimmy Johnson pack if you haven't already done that.
I
That way
can't get mine to work.
You can get cursed at, yelled at, demeaned. It's great.
Well, once you install it, Justin, you have to go into the sim settings and actually pick it from the drop-down menu under spot.
I found it and everything in my file and got to that point. It just don't work. Maybe I'll bug you guys later. Help me out.
I used to run the Jimmy Johnson's cuss pack, but at some point it needed to be updated and they hadn't updated it. And I was afraid I was missing spotter calls that had been added. So then I reverted back to the original because of that.
It also just got stale after a while.
Yeah. I think I'm on the default one right now as well.
I have my crew chief spotter turned up way louder.
Now, Jimmy's been gone for a while, and maybe it's time that we pick a different NASCAR driver to model a popular spotter pack off of. I mean, who would we pick?
Kyle Busch.
Well,
you want to hear Freddie?
Crew chief. It's got to be
Bubba's chief.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Right. You'd be picking it for this crew chief at spotter, not for the driver necessarily.
Yeah.
I'd want one.
I like the Bubba and
guys.
Fred.
Yeah, either Bubba and Freddie or Brett. Hearing Brett with anybody would be cool.
He's intimidating.
Now, isn't he like semi-retired or something?
Yeah, pretty much. He spends more time doing the marketing side now.
I wouldn't mind a proper TJ Major spotter pack. The iRacing one kind of sucks.
All right, results. The NASCAR iRacing Series. Let's finish up last week. Thursday fixed. Oh, Justin, you got a P33.
Yeah, Mike. I screwed up halfway through, and I was running on the outside too wide, and that guy did nothing wrong. I did everything wrong and smashed the wall and meatball. So I just hung her up.
All right, moving on to Friday Open, New Hampshire. Yikes, I DQ'd out. Lap 56. I couldn't miss anything. So not only did I DQ out, I DQ'd out early, okay? I didn't even get towards the end of the race before I DQ'd out. I mean, that's how bad it was. And it wasn't like I was wrecking. It was like I couldn't miss anybody's wreck.
Mike, it seemed like every 30 seconds you were like, oh, there's another 4X. There's another 4X. It was pretty wild.
And it's been like that continuously for several races in a row, actually. So I can't seem to shake. David, you had a P something in top.
Yeah, I had to look it up because it said P2, and that was definitely not correct. It was P25. It was top split, and I didn't have a good finish at any of the New Hampshire races. There was a lot of dirty driving in this race, and a couple of them, they really tried to take advantage of me. One guy who had gotten into trouble with somebody else, he's the number 2 car. He's got a high rating, so he expects to be just let go. And he dove down all the way across the apron trying to slide job and comes up in front of me off speed. I didn't lift, and he ended up in the wall. He sent me a not so nice message, and I sent one back through email saying that what he did was basically protestable because he left the racing surface and came back up unsafely. I don't have to back off when somebody's cutting across the apron, and you can't lift in this car. You lose your momentum. So there's a lot of dirty racing, P25, but don't try to pass somebody under the apron. Pass them on the exit like you're supposed to.
Tony Rochette, P14. I hate New Hampshire and will always hate this track. I don't remember what I did, how much this track sucks. Donnie, P26.
Yes, well, we all ran together, not in the same race, but I got 8X right off the back, so I went to the back. I think 4X was my fault. The rest of it was just like you were saying, Mike. And something about nobody being able to hold their brakes at this track, it just looked like it was slippery and nothing would hold. So every time anybody would lock up or go sideways, you wouldn't know where they were going. But didn't give me any confidence for Sunday. I liked the set that I put together there, but I didn't get a chance to race it Friday night. Was too nervous trying to preserve my DQ, which I ended up getting.
All right, and then Saturday fix. Justin, P6.
Yeah, I had a little bit of luck finally. I ran with Mr. Tom. He always has good strategies. I love running with Tom and Mike. They do all the strategy for me. I just have to drive. It makes it 10 times easier. But yeah, the first half I got a 10X, no damage, frustrating. Made me angry. But then again, I was on the outside and I spun out just a repeat of the last race and still hung out in the back, cycled to the front with Tom actually, and yeah, had a 5-lap run at the end. I was started 9th and got to 6th, so I was happy. I was ecstatic.
All right, nice run. Sunday Open, David P. Rep.
Yeah, a guy that I have had trouble with historically took us 3 wide on turn 1 and turned me. Didn't even get the race started. Car was never as good from that point. And I was kind of struggling to stay around 20th, and there was an accident, and I got into another guy who was also avoiding the accident because he got really sideways, and I guessed wrong on where he was going to be.
All right, and Donnie, P9.
Yeah, this was a much better race until it wasn't. I qualified 6th. My strategy was to stay up front as possible. I was running top 5 most of the race, maybe top 6. And every time we'd have a caution, I stayed out. I didn't care. That eventually cycled me to the front on older tires. I didn't think it was necessary to take tires at certain points, so that kept me out front. And then somewhere throughout the race, I think it wasn't until like lap 80 before I got my first incident points for this race. 2 cars in front of me were battling, bounced off the wall. I clipped one of them that were in front of me, and I kept going down the straightaway. Wheel was great. Everything was fine. And as soon as I entered turn 1, gave me a meatball, and the car was driving great. It's frustrating. The incident points in relation to damage and in relation to the meatball seems kind of wompy sometimes. But I was able to battle back from that, finish P9. Stephen Llewellyn, teammate, was in the race. He won. He started next to me, and he ended up winning the race. It was a good run for him.
He's back. He'd been out for a while, and now he's back with style, winning when none of the rest of us can. Well done, Stephen. Let's move on to Pocono Wednesday Open. I ran a P17. Ouch. I was actually running 4th on the final green-white checker, and I got dive bomb on the restart and taken out, moved to the rear of the pack, P17. David, you were wrecked.
Yeah, I got wrecked on lap 7, and this guy just turned into me on the straight. He apologized and said he didn't realize how close we were to each other. Then you don't turn in the middle of the straight if that's the case. But he apologized. Mistakes happen. So, and definitely, again, car just wasn't as good. And I was trying to fight my way back up and just overdrove the car, trying to catch back up, and spun it out and killed myself in that case.
And by the way, why do people think they can side draft down the straight of Pocono? I mean, does it really do anything? I don't think it helps at all.
It slows the other car down.
But like, what happens if you get wrecked like you did? All right, Justin, P28.
I was going to say, it's getting pretty frustrating. I'm just getting tired of all the dirty racing. It's just absolutely dirty up there.
All right, Justin, you ran in my race, but you got a P28 after a rage quit.
Yeah, another one. Me and you ran in the top 10 most of the race, a good portion of the race. I think it was 5-6 laps ago. We take a final restart. I think I'm lined up 6th, maybe, and yeah, some guy dove bomb you. We were 4 wide in that turn, and I was completely on the outside. I bet you I had 2 car width from the guy that came across your nose, and yeah, there she went. I had 0x till then. It's my first clean race in a while. Yeah, I'm kind of with David. I'm racing in 2600 IR. You guys ain't that good. Quit side drafting. Quit trying fancy stuff. Just complete the race. Sorry, ran over.
Well, I heard David Green is putting out a letter to all the NASCAR drivers this week about restarts, and you can't lay back on the restarts. And I told our group, we need this in iRacing, because that's how Justin got wrecked. Was the guy behind me was laying back 2-3 car lengths. He got a jump on me. I had to hold the middle, and he, and then everyone took advantage, of the situation. And so if that guy hadn't jumped the restart, Justin wouldn't have been wrecked, we really got to clean that up. I was saying iRacing needs to program it where if you're laying back more than 2 car lengths, you're getting this black flag warning or something.
It is protestable, but there's just not, for stuff like this, there's not a whole lot of teeth to it. They're going to have to do it many, many, many times before they see any kind of consequence.
Well, here's your intermediate ban then, David, if they can come up with something like that. But with computer, I'm sure there's a way they could, now that we have the restart zone mic with the miles per hour and whatnot, there's got to be a way they could figure that out with spacing. And are you going the right speed? Is your delta good enough between you and the car in front to be able to manage that? But do we have a lot of things to look at on our screens. Then we got to start managing distance and miles per hour. But I guess
it's not hard. You just
get
follow the guy behind the car in front of you.
That is true. Yeah.
I like Donnie's idea in the chat. Just green, go. Keep it simple. I mean,
I was more referring to the front guys as opposed to having I was actually thinking of the real life race with the Busch race this weekend, where they were kind of playing a little bit of games there, or they weren't. Who knows? But that back in the day, they just used to wave the green flag and they'd go.
All right. One of our new teammates, Chris Waldron, ran with us. He got a P18. He said, we have a new 7-week-old baby racer at home, not getting much seat time, and it showed. Steve Llewellyn wrecked out. Tom, he got like a P18. Tyler Williamson, P27. Caught in a wreck on lap 1 as the dive bombing began early, regrouped and fixed the car, had a great set as the team made a few adjustments. Shout out to Kyle on the main set and Joe with the in-race adjustment. Car was wicked fast and fun to drive. Contact possibly a net code on white to put my top 15 car back in 27th. Frustrated with the result, but was good to be fast. And then Joe Owen ran with us. I don't know where he finished.
Sounds like Pocono's kicking some ass this week.
Let's move on to Thursday Open. David, P15, top split.
Yeah, this was definitely an up and down race. Kind of early in the middle of the race, there was a near wreck or two that didn't cause a caution. In fact, I think nobody actually ended up wrecking. There was just like 5 or 6 cars that were turned the wrong direction and then got back the right direction. I slowed up. A lot of people didn't. A lot of people just went through. And then as I'm kind of catching back up to one of the packs, I have a guy also come down across my nose and it knocks me loose instead of him. So I fall back to 30th place and am not going to catch back up until there's caution. Well, there is a caution. Work my way up. There's another wreck. I'm running about 20th. There's another wreck where there's a wreck here, a wreck there. 4 different wrecks happened, and it didn't bring a caution out until the last one. So nobody's at this point gonna stop, and neither did I. And I hit somebody, got sideways, got a little bit of damage, but it took out a lot of other cars. I didn't fix the damage. I just stayed out and picked up another spot and had another nice little evasive move at the end where a couple of guys wrecked coming to the line and actually brought it home 15th. And I want to know what I said that got Donnie running.
I scrolled down to the title ideas. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I ran and man, I was actually running good. I was top 10, top 5, that kind of thing. I was getting incidents. I think they were adding up, but it wasn't my incidents. But I was running 5th with 12 to go, and we were going to pit for tires, maybe. I think we had a 15-lap run. There was maybe 12 to go. We weren't sure if we were going to get tires or not. And so I was saying, I'm going to do what the leaders are going to do. So we approach pit road. The leaders start going towards pit road. I'm like, okay, we're pitting. And as we get there, 2 of them peel back to the track at the last second. I'm sitting there in 4th or 5th. I'm like, oh, wait, which way am I going? And I hit the freaking barrel. I ran into the barrel. I had 30 seconds required, 4.5 minutes optional. I have never been so embarrassed that I damaged my car like that under caution. I had a car capable of winning the race.
I still have you beat at Pocono for embarrassing moments. The new guys may not remember this one. This one made it onto iRacing's Instagram. I was pacing and staying to the right all the way where the cones are, and kind of watching to the left, and suddenly I drive into the scoring pylon.
I think it was this time last year.
It was either last year or 2 years ago. It was on the newest track.
because it kind of narrows. Yeah, the pit road
Well,
narrows there.
Yeah, it narrows because that's not part of pit road, and so there's an inlet where the scoring pylon is, and the wall moves. So I got you beat up.
Anyway, frustrating. I had a good finish going. I really needed it. I had lost the points lead to Tom because of New Hampshire. Needed a good finish. I thought I was there, and then I ran myself into the barrels. Now, before that, I want to talk about a green flag stop that was happening. The leaders start peeling off, short pitting, and I'm asking David, what do I do here? Should I run it out of fuel and wait for the caution? And David, you're like, no, short pit this thing like it's a road course, like a road course. It worked though. I mean, I short pitted with some of the other leaders. Sure enough, the caution came out right after I came off pit road. But somehow, some way, I ended up in sixth on the restart.
Well, that's because on the road courses, if you don't know you're not going to need the tires, you want to be the first to pit last. So now you're out in front because the people who didn't pit had to pit under caution, and you just stay out, and you've got the track position back. So what have we learned here? I told you I was going to make you say this on the show.
Always follow David Hall's pit lane advice.
Do I win? I mean, nobody gets it right every time, but usually I feel like I win the coin toss more than I lose it.
Yeah, it was the right call. Because imagine if I didn't pit and that caution came out, I would have had to pit under the caution. And then, like you said, all these people would have cycled to the front and I would have been behind them. And so I would have lost the track position. All right. And then Tony Rochette ran with us today. He got out of work early. P16 for him. He said, been a while since I raced on a Thursday. Unlike my dominant win last year in the Dorito-shaped track, today I was getting slammed, bammed, and shammed the whole race. Was running ninth on the white when the guys wanted to wreck on the back, and I got ran over.
I have never thought of that. Doritos needs to sponsor Pocono.
Are you guys shifting in turn 1 and turn 3, or just turn 1?
All three.
All
Leaving
three,
in the
according
short
to
shoot,
Joe Owen.
Yeah, Joe was on last night when we were practicing, and it helped us all gain some speed.
All right, final thoughts, David Hall.
I kind of already said them. I'm getting really irritated with the dirty driving, and you really shouldn't be able to do that on iRacing as much. And they talk about even in the real racing that it's infuriating if you're not allowed to do anything about it. You know, and y'all were all dissing on Verstappen, but if you've got people just constantly knocking you around and you're not allowed to do anything about it, it gets pretty irritating at some point. And there's a difference between the occasional mistake and somebody who does that, wrecks me on lap 1, gets yelled at literally 5 laps later by somebody else for making another stupid move, and they just let them stay out there, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't give them the Ross Chastain treatment in person, you know. So there needs to be some other kind of way to deal with repeat offenders of these just dirty driving.
All right, Brian McCubbin, final thought.
Not a whole lot going on here. I just had got some racing in this past weekend, but it was nothing to write home about. But looking forward to Pocono. I do like Pocono. It's a weird track, but I've always thought it was fun. So and one last thing is I want to congratulate Tyler Williamson, our teammate, who did the race last week for the Firecracker. He had some good runs going on. He got wrecked in the qualifier, advanced through the LCQ, and then had some more trouble in the feature. So he didn't qualify to the final event, but he represented himself really well. Did a great job. He couldn't say enough about how much Bobby Jonas did for not just painting his car, but for spotting him. So thank the Bobby for teammate Bobby Jonas for helping out with Tyler too. So congratulations, Tyler. And he's like, you're running this with me next year. So I guess that's what I'm doing next year.
All right. Yeah. Well done, Tyler. All right, Justin, final thought?
Not much. Just looking for a clean, solid run on NIS and just a little good luck streak going from now on. I haven't had luck at all, so I'm just waiting. I'm just grinding, putting my time in.
Yeah, we had such a good run, you and I, on Wednesday night. Like I think you and I pitted early because we were in a window where we could do it on one more in case it went green. We ended up in the back, but I was kind of panicked, but you weren't, and we were like, next thing you know, we were back up to the front, and we were on a rail. We were in position to run well if we didn't get caught up in crap. All right, Donnie Spiker, final thought.
Yeah, I hadn't raced much the last week. I just raced those two New Hampshire starts. But to echo Brian, it was super cool watching Tyler in that race, and I will do as much as I can to race it next year. The time starts, and we're a little hard out here, but definitely look fun. I'll give that a go, and excited for Pocono. And I think I just tested maybe Monday or Tuesday night, and I'll do some more tonight, and then hopefully I get in the race tomorrow, and hopefully it's nothing like last week. That's what I hope.
Okay, my final thoughts. Man, I love my Max Pappas wheel. I've always wanted a Max Pappas wheel, and when I built this rig, the whole spark of it was a Max Pappas seat to go with the wheel. And I didn't end up with that Max Pappas seat, but I eventually ended up with the wheel after the fact. But can't say how much I love it. It's so lightweight. It's so big. It's such a pleasure to hold and use in the races I've run so far. So couldn't think of a better wheel I would want. So thinking about maybe can I get a push to talk somewhere on it, easily without crazy wires. That's kind of the next thing I'm going to kind of look into, but not a big concern about that. Other than that, hey, we'll see you on the track.